It's reveal time. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyle. This is Spin Out Cards. First of all, if you're into Pokemon related content, I'm constantly putting out stuff, just documenting what I'm doing in the hobby at the time. Could be anything. It's a real mixed bag, from selling on eBay to repackaging to just collecting in general, looking at cards that are out there. If that's your thing, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into these grades, because I'm going to also talk about some of the strategies and plays that I'm making in the current market. Okay, here we go. So before we get into my stuff, one of my buddies who's never graded cards asked me to submit some of his stuff, so I'm going to show you those first. He opened up a God pack of 151 English and got the Gem Mint Blastoise EX, the Gem Mint War Turtle, beautiful card, probably my favorite of all of them. And then can he manage to get the trifecta out of the God pack?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine. You're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
So close, yet so far. Sorry, Simon. But he did manage to get all three graded, which is still sick. The Squirtle, War Turtle, and Blastoise, 2 10s and a 9. That 9 was the only one he got, because he also submitted this Japanese Mew Gold EX, perfect 10, Gem Mint, and the Master Ball in that was a Kakuna, leaving a little bit to be desired, but a Gem Mint 10 nonetheless, so still a win. Okay, so now we are into my portion of the submission, and I'm just going to kind of talk and free flow through this and give you some of my thoughts on the whole grading, flipping, you know, what cards are submitting sort of thing as we go. So I submitted 2 of my childhood cards. This Machoke, first edition, again from my binder from 1999, came back as a 6, excellent mint, leaving a little bit to be desired for sure. And then the Ivysaur, also first edition from my childhood binder, excellent 5. These are the 2 lowest grades I've ever gotten from anything that's ever come out of my childhood binder, and I've sent like well over 20 cards from that thing at this point. Shocked to get what I got on those, honestly. Now we're going to get into some of the newer stuff that I'll start talking about, sort of the plays that I'm making as we go through them. So we have the Giratina V-Star. Very surprised this got a 9. Was honestly expecting a 10 on this guy. I thoroughly inspect the cards before I send them in or submit them. 9 on that was a little bit disappointing, not gonna lie. And then this came out of the first Ultra Premium Mew Ultra Premium 151 box. My wife pulled this Zapdos EX, got all the legendary birds. This is such a sick artwork. A little bit bummed it came back as a 9, but it is what it is. It's still a sick card. And then I opened up one single ETB of Paldea Evolved when it first came out, and my wife on the last pack pulled the Iono the Illustrator Rare, Special Illustrator Rare. Came back as a 9. Not even really that disappointed. Such a sick card. The texturing on this really makes it look awesome. Would have been nice to have it in a 10. We'll take the 9 all day. Now, what I want to start talking about is the fact that as it stands, you really have to examine, got the Celebi in a 9, the cards that you're submitting, and do a whole bunch of research before you actually submit them, because there's really only 2 tiers that I would mess with right now that PSA is offering. Unless I'm going for like a first to market play, which I rarely do, then that $100 and up sort of range is in play. But you really need to look at, like, if a card is if it's valued like at or just below $100, I honestly do not believe it is worth it. Now, again, this is my opinion. Don't take this to, heart or anything, but I don't think it's worth it to send it at that $40 value plus tier if it's valued under $100. Like, a lot of these cards that I'm pulling out in 9s are going to sell for like $30 to $80. Now, if you grade it at $40, that does not leave a whole lot of meat on the bone in terms of what you stand to make or profit from it, especially when you consider the shipping costs. The Mew reverse foil from Evolutions. Love this card. Love that card. So that's it for the 9s. The rest are 10s. But really, what I'm trying to convey to you is you have to leave meat on the bone in terms of the cards that you're submitting and at what tier. So like all of these were in a bulk submission. Sure, it took 2 months for them to get through it and get it back to me, but the reality of it was I was perfectly okay with not having them in my hands for those 2 months, and I wasn't too concerned about the prices dropping like dramatically that it really wasn't even like a consideration for me. If a card is valued at like $100 or more, then I'm going to start really considering that $40 value plus tier. I've seen a lot of YouTube content creators talking about how, now there's no obviously proof of this, but there is some consideration to the fact that it appears from some submissions that cards that are submitted at that value plus may get a little bit more of like a favorable look in terms of the grades that they're going to be receiving. Now, whether that's because they're not being submitted at the bulk and there's not like 50 cards in the submission, maybe there's some truth to that. Obviously, I can't know for sure, but it is something that I wouldn't be surprised to find out if there was some of that going on. But then again, I did submit all of these cards at that bulk rate, and I got 18 10s. So take that for what it's worth. But it is really about, like, if you are specifically grading cards with the intention of, you know, putting them up on some platform to resell them, it's definitely something that you should take a look at. Do a lot of research before you actually go and submit the cards. Understand what you stand to make or what you would need to flip it at if it comes back as less than a 10. Because a lot of these cards now, with the modern cards especially, if they don't get that gem mint 10, take a huge hit in terms of what their potential resale value is. Like, you're almost better just keeping them and selling them raw in some cases. But again, for me, there is definitely still plenty of plays and plenty of margin when you are grading in cards with PSA specifically. There's definitely plenty of margin and incentive to do so, because I do believe there is definitely value to be added to some of these cards once they get put in these plastic and have the number above them. Those are all the master balls. These are super sick. I've said it in other videos, and I do truly mean it. I really feel like the English 151 would have been so much better if there was some sort of inclusion of a master ball chase in that set. But I got 4 10s. Super happy about that. Those are definitely going to be ones that go up for flip. Got the Mewtwo. I haven't even been saying the cards. I've just been trying to display them in all their graded glory. The Mewtwo from Pokemon Go. I know. It's Pokemon Go. Still an alternate art, and it's still a sick card. This Rotom I got at Collecticon in Dallas. Opened it up in the hotel room with my fam after a long day of looking at booths. Super sick artwork on this one. I was very excited to get so many 10s. This Mew VMAX is the alternate art that really doesn't look like an alternate art from Fusion Strike. Still a lovely card. I'm partial to psychic types. Many of you guys know that. Super stoked to have this one in a 10. What else we got? Oh yeah. Bang and Bang. I opened up a bunch, probably too much, of Japanese 151 before it was even released over here. These two came out of, I think, the first 2 booster boxes that I opened. Back-to-back 10s, super stoked on this. I think this card over time is going to do very well. It is a classic looking Charizard artwork. It's not too busy. It gets straight to the point. You also know that I'm very much partial to the full art cards. Check the last video if you haven't. We also have the M Charizard EX. Opened this with a buddy of mine when he first got into Pokemon collecting, and he asked me what we could do to like really up the ante. I was like, yeah, let's go buy some evolutions. Pulled that. So got the GameStop stamped Charmander promo. Super sick. Glad this one came back in 10. I was a little bit worried about it. And then last but not least, we got the Sleepy Mew with all the Pokemon watching on from Crown Zenith. Gem in 10. This is probably my favorite artwork from that whole set. Super stoked to have this one in a 10. This is definitely a PC one for me. And that concludes this freaking stack of 10s. Now, just for argument's sake, I'm going to show you. Here's the stack of 10s. This is the stack of 9s. Bulk submission. All those were 10s. pretty solid. Very happy with this submission, to say the absolute least. Boom. There you have it. That was super cool. I got a lot of 10s in that submission. Thank you guys for hanging out and checking out the grades with me. Just some closing thoughts, and just to reiterate, I think it is of the utmost importance to do extreme due diligence before submitting cards to PSA or any other grading service for that matter. Know what you stand to make if the card doesn't come back in that gem mint 10, because I know in everybody's head every card that's in their hand looks like a 10. But the value drops from a 10 to a 9, especially with modern cards nowadays, are very severe. So it's important to understand and accept the fact that you may or may not make up ground with 9s the way that you used to. And also consider the tier, the $40 and up tier for cards that you think are, you know, maybe $100, $150, $200 plus. Definitely consider sending them in that tier, because I do think that they get a good honest look. The turnaround time feels like nothing. But anything that's like at 100 or below, I'm not even thinking about submitting it at that $40 value plus. That is a TCG bulk submission all day. The TCG bulk, thankfully, it really actually makes it work for you, because there's plenty of meat left on the bone when you go to sell it or flip it on eBay or whatever platform you're using, even if you're on like Whatnot or TikTok Shop or whatever it is. And yeah, that's sort of just like my rule of thumb for right now, is understand the numbers of what I'm submitting in terms of what I could potentially turn around and flip them for. I've gotten burned by 9s in the past, and it's definitely something that I'm conscientious of. So if I couldn't stress anything else to you in this video, is just do a lot of research before you submit the cards. And if you found anything in this video useful or insightful, leave a like. If you want to hop on this journey with me, because I'm always putting out content about what I'm doing in the hobby, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for checking out the video, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.